Today's intention is to be grateful for this moment. Grateful for the work we're putting in. Grateful for you being here, Chris. And grateful for this experience, all of it. All of it. The awkward moments, the fun moments, the challenging moments. Intention is to be grateful. Hey, it's Bobby. Welcome to Student of Intention, where we help you enjoy the pursuit of purpose. Remember, don't wait, start small, learn as you go.
Hey everyone, this is episode 1 of the Student of Intention podcast. My name is Chris Decker. I'm your guest host for today. The format of this show is to open up with an intention and a prayer. But then we want to tackle something on each episode. And it's something, what do you want to metabolize? What do you want to work through? What can you bring to the table right now that we can apply the 5 buckets framework, the Student of Intention framework to? And you've agreed to be the first subject.
Yes, seems only fitting.
What do you want to metabolize?
So I'm gonna lean into a challenging topic for myself, and what I want to metabolize with you, right here, right now, is my relationship with alcohol.
So, what's your relationship with alcohol?
Simply asked, huh? So, well, I think historically my relationship with alcohol has been a close one. I've enjoyed many a times with many a different types of alcohol. I'd be lying if I didn't say I love it all. Big beer fan, probably even bigger wine fan, and even a well-crafted cocktail at the right bar by the right bartender really has been a big part of my life. Now that said, it's that relationship has taken its toll on me as well. It's taken its toll on my relationships, my ability to produce the work that I want to produce, be the person I want to be, and show up each day the way I want to show up. And that's why I want to tackle it right here, right now.
Let's uncover your alcohol history, your timeline, from the first moment you were introduced to it to today. You know, what were the highlights, the landmark moments?
You know, I haven't thought of this in a long time, maybe ever. The first time I drank alcohol was actually senior year spring break. I think by senior year of high school. I think by a lot of measures, I was actually quite the late bloomer. I was, pretty straight and narrow high school student. Got great grades. Big time athlete. I was an All-American wrestler. Eventually, went on to wrestle in college. And so alcohol really didn't play a part in my life until that senior year spring break. And from that point on, I started to build a relationship pretty quickly. In college, both at UNC and at Ohio State, drinking became a pretty normal way of living. It wasn't uncommon to drink 5, 6, 7 days a week. And I think that relationship kind of continued really all through my 20s and clear into my 30s. Certainly when I moved out here post-college into Southern California, it was a conduit to the social life that I wanted to live, and that in a lot of ways I still want to live. And so it's difficult to have a negative view of those times and of alcohol in my life at that time, because, man, I had some really, really good times. Again, particularly early on when I was in Southern California, when I first moved here, I didn't know anyone. And with each friend I found was usually over a drink. And built some amazing relationships, and I'm fortunate enough now to have a ton of good friends. I met my wife out here. And again, majority of those relationships have been forged over a glass of wine, over a beer, what have you. And now, where I'm at now, I'm at a chasm with myself. I'm kind of facing this reality that I think there's another way. There's another version of myself that exists when I don't drink. I haven't drank for the last 5 weeks, in part because of that curiosity of what that person is, right? That person that existed my first 17 years of living, of not drinking, but hasn't existed the last 16 or 20, I guess, 20. And now thinking about, what does tomorrow look like, right? What does the next 10 years look like? And so I'm at this chasm where on one hand, I'm curious of that. And then also I'm tackling new ground with my occupational pursuits, my creative pursuits. I'm in the middle of writing a book. I'm in the middle of starting this podcast, trying to figure out what this version of myself looks like. And part of me doesn't want any sort of burden or baggage that might be brought on by alcohol in the ways that I've seen before.
In the ways that you've seen before, I'm going to drop a story on here. I'm going to drop a little gift for your audience today. And I'm going to talk about when I was introduced to alcohol and then the moment that I decided it was no longer a part of my identity. You see, I grew up in and out of meth dealers' homes until I was about 9. And I remember my earliest memory of alcohol was while I was sitting at this table. You know, there's mountain of weed, there's Coke, there's people doing meth, this guy has a gun, this guy has Playboy magazines, they're playing Led Zeppelin on the stereo system, the dog Maggie's to my left, like kind of an interesting place for a child to be. And Budweiser, I was handed a Budweiser as a little kid. I remember like tasting this, thought it was the most awful, foul-smelling crap ever.
Yeah, as you do at that age, I imagine.
Right. Well, what kid wants Budweiser? But then I saw everybody else drinking Budweiser, and it was making them like jubilous.
Right.
You know, like there's a reverence for this red and white can of deliciousness that I thought was disgusting.
So you had a little curiosity there, I'm sure.
At home, my mom would give me wine to get me to kind of shut up as a kid, you know, go to sleep. And so she gave me and my brother red wine. But then when I went to like great grandma's house, we would go on the weekends sometimes. Wine was a religious sacrament. We did a blessing and a prayer over it. And then I got a little bit of wine on the Friday Sabbath meal, you know? And so I got to see wine from this three-pronged perspective of something that makes people happy, something that's meant to get me to shut up, but then also something that's sacred. And it wasn't until many years later that I saw money as something that caused me to be violent. Money. Alcohol is something that caused me to be mixing things there. Freudian slip. Alcohol is something that caused me to be something that I wasn't. And it wasn't until I'll share this very experience with you this weekend that changed my whole life. I had gone to a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within event as an attendee a couple of times at this point. I decided to come back as a crew member because I thought I was going to get to experience the event again for free. But something interesting happened when I came back as a crew member serving the audience. It was the Los Angeles Convention Center, 15,000 people that were going there expecting to change their life in 4 or 5 days. And when you are wearing that t-shirt and you're representing that organization, and something different happens when you go into something with the intention of serving. So I had to become more in order to fill the shoes that I was. You got 12, 14-hour days. It didn't matter. I didn't need coffee. I remember at the end of one of these particular sessions, I won't go into too many details, but like I'd like poured myself out, and I find myself in the crew room with another individual, and she was super spiritual, and she looks over into me and says, "You look like you're in pain. What is that?" She comes over to me, and what I can experience the next several hours was an exorcism, where she guided me through pulling a demon out of myself, asking it why it had come to teach me these things, and then looking it square in the eye and then letting it go. I remember the moment. I immediately collapsed and went to sleep. When I woke up, the evening was still going. She was gone. The event was still going on. I had to go get to my position. And this is where people walk over hot coals, a 30-foot line of hot coals that to get to the physiological and mental state to walk over hot coals, you've got to be insanely confident in your approach, or you will get seriously injured, potentially even die. There is a way to do it properly, to get into a perfectly calm and confident state to do this effectively, but it turns people bananas once they do it. And you can imagine once someone's done something so scary, they get to the other end of this walk of fire. I'm the guy, I don't know how I ended up there, but I was standing on the entrance back to the convention center. We're talking about 15,000 people. It's 2 a.m. They want to get back so they can get back to their hotels, grab their shit, and leave the convention center. And this one person just comes running up to me. It's like ballistic, like, like the amount of just unleashedness that comes from that. It's purely primal. Like you enter a very primal state. And I'm like, I match them, and I give them a hug. And just like you would imagine in any zombie apocalypse, like the wave just came. It just came. This lady needs a hug. That kid needs a high five. This dude, just let him do his thing, And I time went in slow motion, and I saw each person for what they needed in that moment. And dude, I reached a high that I could never get with alcohol or drugs or anything. I reached a high of service for humanity and entered a spiritual plane. I entered dare I say, an astral plane in that moment of just like, time had no meaning. It was just, I was there, and these people, like, it was, I can't explain it beyond that. At the end of the event, Sunday evening, everything was gone. Everything was over. We, as crew members, we went to a bar to go get an end of celebration drink or something, or whatever. Remember, I ordered a double Jameson on the rocks, and the bartender brought it over. He spilled some on me. I looked at it. I looked at my new friends walking in, the person that had literally helped me exorcise a demon, and I remember thinking to myself, like, I ordered this out of social like it was just something that I do.
Right.
But it wasn't who I was, and it clicked for me in that moment. I'm like, that's actually not me. I'm okay not having this. And I gave it to someone across from me, and that was it. It's been almost 2 years, and I never see myself drinking again. It was a permanent identity shift where I was like, I don't want this.
Right.
I just wanted to drop this little gift for your audience today, this little story. That was my breakthrough moment.
No, it's a wonderful story in so many ways. And I can't imagine being in that Tony Robbins environment, right? Like, it's something that you see here or there from highlight shows, from infomercials, social media, what have you. But to hear you describe it in that way, like just that energy and all those different individuals coming to you out of either service or receiving whatever energy that you can provide to them, I can't imagine. And then the come down of that moment where you're looking at a drink that just spilled on you and trying to grapple with that situation, and then just meeting it head on by saying it's not who I am right now. That's awesome. Now you also brought up an interesting childhood memory, one of which that I don't have, and I think that's what's what's challenging with me in regards to how I want to define my relationship with alcohol is two things. One, I don't really have those moments. Mike, I was fortunate enough. My folks, I remember distinctly, my dad went to my little sister's softball like trophy party, the after party at one of the parents' house, and I was so proud of my dad in this moment. Like, all the other parents are just getting blasted off of wine, off of, whatever. He walks in with a 6-pack of Mountain Dew. Like, and my dad's a blue collar business owner. He runs a framing company, a residential framing company. So he's a carpenter, be it a master carpenter and a really accomplished one. But, he's around, white collar folks, basically, some really well-to-do folks. And they're having it up. And he just sits there drinking his Mountain Dew. And I was actually in college at the time. And I'm like, Dad, it's okay. I can drive, like, have a drink. And he's like, no, man, not at your sister's party. And that's etched in my memory. And that's how my folks were really with alcohol in general. So I don't have that perplexing, to some extent, negative perspective of alcohol at a young age. And secondly, I think the other challenge that I'm grappling with is do I have to choose all or nothing, right? Like, you in that moment decided, okay, it's not for you. And that's awesome. And I've seen so much good come out of those decisions. And I don't really hear any regrets of people giving it up. I also don't hear of any corrections of relationship with alcohol outside of complete abstinence. And I'm kind of faced with this decision. Is it an all or nothing decision? What does that look like for me on an individual level? What does that look like for my relationships with my wife, my cohabitant, predominantly, and then all the other relationships that I kind of mentioned along the timeline of my experience with alcohol.
So, tell me about some of your best experiences with alcohol, like the best, funniest, like, connection moments with people. You're on a boat in Miami, not really, but
I mean, funny enough, we were at a boat in Miami, I guess it was just 2 years ago, for a good friend's, actually I was his best man, his name's Boris. I was at his bachelor party. So that's certainly up there. I mean, my own bachelor party in Cabo in 2019, that's another one that's right up there. And
bring me into a moment, though. Like, describe the moment. What did it sound like? What were the looks on people's faces? What were you feeling? What did it look like?
I mean, I want to think of a better answer, but now I just thought of, that Cabo experience, and unfortunately it doesn't bring a great memory up, in the sense that the memory I do remember is going out onto this awesome golf course. I mean, and I'm a golfer, big lover of the sport. And this is an oceanside golf course. Half of the front nine is designed by Nicholas. The other half is designed by Greg Norman. We had set the intention as a group to go out there early. I believe it was Friday morning. So one of the earlier, I think the first morning we're there, and we're already all hungover from the night before. So I'm already pretty confident I'm going to have a tough round of golf. It's also 98 degrees. We're sweating out the alcohol from the night before. In order to ale ourselves, we start drinking early on. And if I'm just totally being honest, like, I really missed the mark on that moment, because I don't totally remember the last 4 holes. I remember the beginning holes were great. They had unlimited food and drink included in the round. They had a taco bar every 3rd hole. So, and this is like no ordinary taco bar. This is like beautiful handmade tacos, high-end tequila, of course, a water station. And it was so great that I think in the first stop, they had to start telling us, hey guys, like, you're still playing around. Like, you got to keep going. We were about to sit there and just have a full meal and have at it. So of course, those early parts were really fun, and in a lot of ways, nothing not a moment I'm going to forget anytime soon. But to say I gave that moment really all of its due, all of its justice. I mean, that course, all said and done, between the rentals and everything, we're probably spending $300-400 each for that moment. I don't even remember the last 4 holes. Granted, again, I was the bachelor, so I was getting fed a healthy dose of alcohol here and there. But that's my answer to your question. I honestly don't know if right off the top of my head right now if I can conjure up another memory outside of that one, and it's not as positive a memory as I probably want it to be.
Have you missed out on any moments because of alcohol?
I think my honest answer is I have to just assume yes. Like I'm an objective enough person, even with myself, to acknowledge that has to be true. Do I want it to be true? Do I want to think of a specific instance as a person who also doesn't like the idea of regrets? No, not really.
Right.
But I do think that there's a driving, again, back to like where I'm at right now and why I'm even confronting this, both individually and on the show right now is I have a fear of those moments. I have a fear of missing out on not just experiences like the one I just referenced, but more importantly, what I can give to the world, right? Through my writing, through any sort of guidance that I can give that I'm learning along my journey of trying to figure out how to live with more intention. And actually, I guess that's probably the most, that's where I think I'm just butting up against this dilemma with myself is I've had so many moments where I've drank enough alcohol to where I'm certainly not living with intention, right? Like I was not enjoying the pursuit of being a better person, of giving to the world, of being in service, let alone just even enjoying that golf game that day to its true fullest extent. And it was because I had too much alcohol in my system.
So you talk about like, does it have to be all or nothing? But that's not really the question you should be asking. Like the first question you should be asking is it a problem? Like is it a problem that needs to be dealt with, you know? Has this posed a problem in your life?
You're right. That I assume that is a good question to ask. And I can't say that it has though, right? Like I can't say that it's, at least how I define problem, right? Like if I think of problem, I think of something pretty challenging, pretty traumatic, pretty dire, right? I don't think of problems lightly. I think I'm a pretty optimistic person. Try to be as opportunistic as I can be. And so, yeah, I'm honestly not sure, but I don't think so, right? I mean, again, I'm coming off of 5 weeks sober. I haven't, as I'm telling you this right now, I'm starting to think of like, I think if I were to name it as a problem, it would be a problem. It could be a problem of potentially impeding me from being the best version of myself, from being the person that not only lives with intention for service of myself, but more importantly, lives with intention for service of others. And I think I need to be that person. Candidly, if I'm going to give this thing its due process, its due Bobby, I guess it is a problem in that regard. Because I think if there's even the slightest deterrence from me drinking alcohol, with me finishing the 5 Buckets book, attempting to write one novel, two novel, build a community around Student of Intention. If there's just the slightest deterrence, sure, I'll get over it. Sure, I'll figure it out, but I'll know. And those feelings, I have had those feelings before where that just doesn't sit well. I know that I let myself down or let others down. And for this thing, for Student of Intention, for the 5 buckets, for the books that have yet to be written, I don't want any of those deterrents. Even a risk of it, even just a slight chance of it.
Where's that coming from? Because you already made decision number 1, which is incredibly important, which is, yes, it's a problem. You defined it. It's a problem. But where's that drive to do this right? Why now? Why now? What's so special about this? What's so special about Student of Intention? What's so special about the 5 buckets? Why does it matter if, you go give it a shot and, maybe, why now?
Because it's my life. It's my life. It's really important to me. And not just, and I'm not even saying the output, right? I'm not even saying the work output, not even the literature, the manuscript, the books, the community. How I live every day, I've taken the most interest in that over the last 4 months. And it's a way of living I've never experienced. It's a long time coming. This isn't a new revelation, right? I don't think this is something that I've wanted to do that recently. This is something that's been eating away at me for a long time. I know there's this dude that, again, even just going back to my early years in living, I have this conversation at least once or twice a year where I'm like, there was 17 years of your life where you just didn't have a relationship with alcohol at all. And you were pretty awesome. Kicked ass at sports, had some great relationships, was a great, son to my folks. And again, I still am those things, but to say that they haven't been compromised a little bit would I think would be a lie, mischaracterization. So yeah, why now is it's twofold. Actually, it's threefold. One, that realization is just it's at its height. The realization of wow, man, this way of living, this way of being intentional, there's something to this that I really don't want to sacrifice. Secondly, I'm a big fan of momentum. I've got a lot of it. I like it. I want to nurture it. I want to keep going. And then third, maybe it is the most important. I don't know. It's I've been putting away books in my mind for a long time that I failed to execute on, failed to write. There's this creative side of me that I've put to the side for a long time. And I just don't think I want to do it anymore. So that's why now.
It sounds like you have to. It's like you have the privilege of this. And I'll share with you, Bobby, that when I never saw alcohol as my primary problem. I thought, I'm just like an angry guy, or, I never saw alcohol as like the thing, but once I let it go, the detox from that, the withdrawal from that emotionally helped me understand the other areas that I was using alcohol to push out of the frame of awareness. Like, oh, if I'm constantly drunk around friends, this, that, and the other, alcohol, just kind of turn off the brain for a little bit, go have some fun. I didn't have to look at the other issues. But what started to happen is, as that layer has started to dissolve, I saw the next layer, which was my relationship with intimacy and sex and porn and that. And then another one started to fall off, my relationship with money and greed and just who I was chasing dollars. And then my relationship as a codependent, not being willing to speak my ground with others. But like, had I not knocked off layer number one, I wouldn't have started to see the rest of these. I'm so grateful that I can see them now. I didn't even have the vision because I was constantly cloudy. Like, I would pride myself on The Hangover. Like, it's funny. It's like I am viciously, dangerously hungover. This is hilarious. My wedding was trash because I was viciously hungover from the night before. I don't remember my own wedding, dude.
Damn.
It was a nice wedding.
I bet.
It was a nice wedding. The pictures are nice, but I don't have any memory of it.
Oh.
I don't know why I shared that. I just felt like.
No, I mean, listen, we've all been there. Maybe not the wedding part. I did enjoy the wedding, but you know what? I don't want to. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the other side of and why this is a dilemma, right? Like, of course, I have all this clarity, and I can answer that question of like, why now? At the same time, like, why not now, or at least not a complete, absence from alcohol? Is I also I kind of have a romantic relationship with alcohol, like I have with many things, right? I mean, I put right up there with a good, beach on a good run on the beach, right up there in terms of a romantic idea of alcohol is, a great glass of wine overlooking a sunset with my wife, right? Or even again, just a wonderful conversation with a capable bartender, probably got a mustache, some epic tattoos, vest, right? And makes just a crafty, gin and tonic or something, right? And
can I challenge this for a second?
Challenge away.
I want to challenge this,
bringing it up,
because the things you're talking about, what you're seeking, an intimate moment with your wife, a great conversation with a skilled human being. Are those not possible?
No, of course they're
without
possible.
alcohol?
Of course they're possible. I'm just again, I think it wouldn't be a Bobby-driven conversation, right? Like if I don't present those real
the 360, yeah,
perspectives of myself and how I view a good drink, right? A hazy IPA, right? I don't put it in an evil bucket, right? I have a lot of affinity for the craft that goes into it, the taste of it. Certainly that sort of perspective, I think, falls off after 5 or 6, right? Like I lose that sort of romanticism that I have for it. But again, I got to present the other side, and that's the side that I see it, and that's the side that I'm gonna have to grapple with. I think most predominantly, more so than even the challenging moments that exist where I've had too much or I've been hungover, which there are many. It's that I don't know if I'm comfortable saying out loud, right, that I'm not going to have those moments anymore, right? And to answer your question, like those moments with a drink in hand, yes, not independent of the drink of choice. It's not that they can't happen. It's that you want to go to a baseball game with a baseball hat on, right? I want to go to a bar and I want to order dealer's choice cocktail from that capable bartender. I don't want all the bad moments. I want the good ones.
But in pursuit of Bobby 2.0, who becomes a student of intention, the Bobby that had a spiritual awakening, the Bobby that cares about himself, like, is there anything worth living for that you didn't have to make a certain sacrifice to attain?
Anything worth
like
living for?
If this whole new life that you're describing just fell in your lap and you're just in it right now, would it be worth it? I don't know. Would it be worth giving up some things that you enjoy in a past life to enjoy something better?
Well, yes, in a lot of ways, right? I mean, I think I'm already doing that, right? With so many things in how I live, right? I mean, the 5 buckets framework, originally, I came up with it for myself. I came up with it to dig me out of a hole I didn't necessarily know I was in. And it's balanced across learning, creativity, health, relationships, and work, because that's what I needed in that moment, right? There's not a place for alcohol in it, or at least it certainly wasn't part of the healing that took place, particularly in those first 6 weeks of leveraging the framework. So, of course, you're right. And it's definitely not worth it, right? Like, again, I'm trying to be sincere here and showing everything that I'm battling and I'm dealing with, and even the stuff that maybe doesn't make sense. I mean, maybe it doesn't, but that's because the hard fast question of is it worth it? Like, no,
right?
No is the answer.
I think it's interesting. And I'll just share. I won't share a personal story, but I'll share just a personal thing that happened. Is when I drank and I got to be the big shot at my networking groups, and I got to be the leader who had the corduroy drinking jacket on. I'm in the Island Hotel, and like I've got an old fashioned, and I've got my wife here in like, a faux mink coat. Like, to me, that was like I was living the movie. I felt like enough. I needed to feel like enough because I was told that I wasn't, but the lie, I was burying the lie and trying to live the truth and make it look like what I wanted, But those were the most empty moments where, I'd swipe the credit card for $1,000 and pick up a bunch of people's tabs because I wanted to be the enough guy, How dumb was that? I'm not saying that that's you, but that was me, and it helped me hit those needs. I can't help but think in this situation, I'm not trying to convince you either way.
I know.
I want to be clear about that, but
let's be clear for those listening. Like, this is my idea.
This is a metabolism, and when you metabolize something, it means you're digesting it. And the way our bodies work is we take in something, and our bodies are this magnificent machine that processes the nutrients and uses it to live and gets rid of the stuff we don't need. So what we're doing right now, folks, ladies and gentlemen, the students of intention, is that we are metabolizing something that we might be avoiding, we might not even want to talk about, but I'm going to just tell it to you straight up. This is how you metabolize it. It has to process. And I'm curious though. I'm curious your relationship with spirit. How is the spiritual realm played out in your life?
How's the spiritual realm played out in my life? I mean,
relationship with God. I'll just be straight up about it. Whether you're an atheist or, Buddhist, doesn't really matter. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think your term spirit, I think that's a good word. I use the universe, all caps, or not all caps, capitalized, and I like Stephen Pressfield's word, the muse, right? I kind of, at least as of late, subscribe to the idea that we are all the spirit, we are all connected, we are all God experiencing himself, right? To whichever God you subscribe to. And so that's a complicated question in regards to what has, well, repeat the question again.
What's been your relationship with spirit?
What's been my relationship with spirit? Well, as of late, right, it's me giving
sort of a play on words, actually, because spirit, alcohol, spirituality.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
it's a little late to it, but now I see it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's in some ways, it hasn't been a driving factor, right? Like in the last several months, it's been, I think, my relationship with spirit has strengthened because I've loved myself more. I've loved my relationships more. I've loved strangers more, society more. I'm leaning into acceptance, to positivity. I'm trying as best I can to give myself opportunities to give more to myself and to others. And in doing so, I sense I'm creating a better connection with spirit. At the same time, I certainly am in debt. I'm in debt. And in no... without question, to some extent, because of my relationship with alcohol. I remember in college, it was actually my senior year. I'd only had a few drinks. There's no physical reason, from my understanding, that I should have been drunk. And I had to drive to my parents' house at the time because I had to give up my apartment because I was planning to move out west, like in short order. And was completely fine and drove, got into drive again, 3 drinks, 3 beers. No way, shape, or form did I think I was in any way impaired to drive. And somewhere along the way, I fell asleep. And I had a beautiful 4-door Dodge Ram that was essentially brand new off the lot, that I drove through a roundabout. It was a new roundabout, one that hadn't been there before, on my way to my parents' house. Drove through it, hit a sign, fishtailed into a light pole, concaving the entire bed of my truck in. Fortunately enough, no one was hurt, myself included, and I was able to navigate that truck home. And so it cost me around $7,000 in damage as a person coming off of, student debt and looking to go take on his first job and move across the country. So it was a painful experience, but certainly could have been a lot more painful. And to bring it back again, and we only have so much time to tell stories of that But I would say more often than not, something bigger was looking out for me, and certainly that day was one. So I'm in debt with regards to my relationship with spirit if I think about enough of those memories.
That's an uncomfortable place to be in, to feel like you're in debt.
Yeah. I mean, I was in debt when I moved out here, credit card debt, and it was so uncomfortable I got rid of it very quickly. So yeah, maybe, maybe in some ways, I mean, it's interesting. I haven't been asked that question maybe ever. So it's interesting that that's my answer, but and potentially maybe a driving force, one of many.
With the time we have left, okay, we're covering this is a heavy topic, and you're sharing a lot on an episode 1, but this is going to grow. I mean, I can't even imagine, like, you have the privilege of being in my seat now for future guests to help them metabolize, to connect with their intention. Mm-hmm. Even if for a moment, even if for the space that you create for them. In the space of half an hour or an hour. I mean, that's going to have a multiplier effect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up. Like, it's certainly not the way I envisioned the first Student of Intention podcast. At the same time, my intention was to be grateful for this experience. And I'm really grateful that you gave me the opportunity to have this conversation in this way. And you're certainly a capable partner in having this conversation. And thank you so much for sharing all the different stories. It's plenty of helpful information that not only am I digesting now, but I'll keep taking with me. So thank you for all of that and all of this. In regards to, moving forward with Student of Intention, right? I mean, at my core, or at its core, I should say, I'm trying to help people enjoy pursuit of purpose, right? And why it is fitting, although again, not how I saw the first episode going. Not certainly my relationship with alcohol doesn't make the top 3 exciting, fun conversations that I wanted to have. But
that was courage. Like, right off the bat, you demonstrated courage.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, what's something I definitely don't feel like sharing today? All right, let's do that.
Exactly. And, back to enjoying pursuit of purpose, and back to, is it worth it? I mean, that's why I think I brought it up, is because I know how I'm living right now. I'm enjoying the crap out of so much of living. I was talking to a good friend, Kevin, just yesterday about how I live for the coffee I grind in the morning. My ritual of grinding whole beans and then putting them into this wonderful French press and adding in my cacao, adding in my rasa, adding in the oat milk and the honey, and I call it Bob's Brew. I live for that little 11-minute ritual. My runs to the beach are I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to be an Olympian here. I'm not really aiming for any outcome. I'm enjoying that moment. Mm-hmm. And I've ran a bunch. I mean, I was a college wrestler. I've ran my share of runs. Mm-hmm. Usually I was running for something, running for a goal of losing weight, running for a goal of getting in shape, what have you. Now I go because I need it. I go because I want it. I want to feel my feet in the sand at the Pacific. Mm-hmm. I want to feel that sun on my face. I want to run to my favorite song at that moment. And I want to keep leaning into that enjoyment of experience. And if I were to narrow down anything that's my biggest risk of not continuing on with that, it would be too many drinks at the wrong time. And if this is the kind of stuff we're going to tackle on Student of Intention, then so be it. I definitely feel better that I've gotten to have this conversation with you and with anybody that's listening. I'm certainly more prepared to tackle it with myself and get a sense of how I can take your spot in that chair moving forward to help folks have the courage to metabolize something that maybe is a little uncomfortable, or at least that's more necessary than not.
Hey, it's Chris. We're really grateful you checked out this first episode of the Student of Intention podcast. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out on YouTube. Don't wait. Start small. Learn as you go. Live with intention.